said we're living in a crazy world? Folks, let me read this title to you from this article that I came across in Zero Hedge, and it says this, and folks, it's legit, like it's real. It says the former UK defense minister says NATO may need to send ground forces to Ukraine. This is no joke, folks. It says the domino theory was once used to great effect in order to manipulate the American public into supporting the Vietnam War, but will the same narrative work to get the West to support World War III with Russia? Former UK Defense Minister Sir Gerald Horwath seems to think that if he uses this exact claim to justify NATO, boots on the ground in Ukraine. Folks, this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. Look what it goes on to say. It says it should be noted that a large percentage of the American populace and most of Europe have no interest whatsoever in engaging with Russia and possibly its allies in an all-out war, but the establishment appears intent on forcing the issue anyway. The delivery of NATO tanks and the possibility of longer-range missiles will no doubt trigger a wider response from Russia, which will then be used by NATO as a reason to escalate further. And folks, this guy has hit it right on the money. That is exactly where things are going to go, but this is what we know from the scriptures. We know that when Russia and the leader of Russia, presumably Gog, right, in the region of Magog, when he comes down to attack Israel, there will be no nation that will stand against them. They will be people that will be vocal about it. They'll say, hey, we're not agreeing with it, but they're not going to verbally or do more than verbally stand against it. And quite frankly, let me just make something very clear. I want people to understand that the only person that will be able to successfully initiate a full down beatdown of Russia will be the Lord himself when they attack with the conglomerate of nations against Israel. But folks, understand, if that's going to happen, then that means we are going to face a world that is openly fearful of challenging Russia, and we are going to move in that direction. I do not know what it takes to try to convince people that we are not going to be successful against Russia. I say that based on the scripture. I'm not a propagandist. I do not support what Putin did to a sovereign nation. I certainly don't support the sovereign nation that is absolutely corrupt like Ukraine. But the reality of it is, or let me just say at least the leaders of Ukraine, but the reality of it is, you cannot argue with God. When God says something is going to happen, you've got to recognize what it's all about. And maybe America ought to focus on building itself. Maybe America ought to focus on its own self-defense. Maybe America ought to be focusing on the righteousness of its people and seeking to do moral and correct things. Because if we know that Christ could come at any moment, don't we want to be on our best behavior? I think it's time to wake up. God bless you guys.